Thank you, thank you for jumping on. I know we have a fun combo of teams today for our team call and team calls, plural. And we are just so excited because you guys, we have a guest speaker who is absolutely phenomenal. We heard her speak on an incredible Josh Coates kind of push mastermind call, and she lit our souls on fire. She is from upstate New York. Her name is Christina McClurken. Am I saying that right, Christina, with your last name? Okay, nailed it. I've been practicing all morning. And Christina, you guys, has been a coach for 5 years. May is going to be her 5th year as a coach, and as of today, 58 months in Success Club, as well as an SC10 all-star legend. Incredible. And last year, well, 2 years ago, I guess, she was a premier coach. And then this year, now she is a 2021 elite coach, went from 6-star diamond to now 9-star qual. What week of qual are you in, Christina? 4th week. Oh, you guys know when you're holding qual, it is just like the most stressful, insane time, but absolutely brought the fire. And just like that reality check and that gut check. And a couple of us coaches were like, will you please speak to our girls, because it was that fire almost that you need as you kind of hit this little, sometimes a lull as you go, okay, beginning of the year was great, and then you kind of dip a little bit, and oh man, she brought it back. So we wanted her to just bring the fire to you, and this opportunity this morning to just have her pour into your souls, because we all need that sometimes, to have our cups filled, because we're always so, pouring into everybody else. So Christina, without further ado, I will pass it off to you. We'd love to hear your story, obviously, and just the fire that you bring. So
yeah,
welcome.
thank you for that introduction. That was amazing. So thank you guys for being here and taking the time. And I am so excited to talk to you, and I am so passionate about sharing this, because I feel like tactical trainings are great, but when someone can light my soul on fire from the inside and just reignite my passion, I leave calls like, I'll go do anything. Like, you know what I mean? It's like beyond the training. So I really like to share the power of my story so that you can kind of see it in yours, and then also give you the tactical tips, right? Because we kind of need both. We need to relate to somebody who's like done it. And that passion, it's kind of like I say, like motivation, right? Motivation for fitness, we talk, that's not always going to be there, but you got to be dedicated. It's the same with your business, but there's always little things that like re-spark motivation with my fitness journey. And it's the same thing with my business journey. And so anytime I can be that spark for anyone, like that's the gift that's been given to me when I hear someone speak, that I'm like, oh, that's the fire that I needed again. So I'm really excited to speak with you. So thank you guys for taking the time for being on. Thank you, Whitney, for the kind introduction. So I know that basically you're all busy, right? Like we're all busy women. And that is one of the things that I really am passionate about sharing and helping other busy women be successful for, because you'll never have time to do it all. You just won't, right? But you have time to do what's most important for you. And if you're showing up for this call, or if you're taking the time out to listening to the recording, like this is important to you, right? So that is something to work on. So I want you to all, we're actually just going to start with a little bit of an exercise. I want you to close your eyes. I really just want you to close your eyes for a second. And we're going to do a little vision exercise. I want you to say, like, why is this business important to me? Where do I see this business taking me? Like close your eyes, picture yourself there, right? What does that picture of your life look like that you're on? You have this opportunity to create. What would this business do for your family if you really went all in? What do you envision the culture of your team to be, that team you create? What is that team culture like? What do you envision your relationship with your spouse to be? What do you envision your relationship with your kids to be? Do you have a specific rank in mind? Is it seeing your name in lights? Is it the recognition? Is it the changing lives? What kind of messages do you want to be receiving from the people that you're working with, or the people on your team whose lives are changing? So have that picture, feel that person, right? Feel where you are in life. Now go ahead and open your eyes. So I wanted you to do that first, because a lot of times, like we don't know what's coming up in the future, right? Like we don't know where it's taking us. But we could have to be very clear on what we want and why we're utilizing this opportunity to help create that happen. And that's going to change over time, like through your business. So to share a little bit about my story, when I first started coaching, I was working full-time in healthcare as a physical therapist. I worked with the geriatric population in a subacute rehab, 40 hours, so 7:30 to 4. I had a twin 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and my husband worked nights and weekends. So I was like responsible for the morning. I was responsible for the night, like the dinner, bath, and bed, the getting everyone up and out to school. And so when I first started coaching, first of all, the home workouts were like my saving grace too. I can't get to the gym because alongside my full-time job, I was teaching group fitness at a gym. And that used to be fun until I had 3 kids and a full-time job. And I was like, I cannot spend the time memorizing choreography and like rushing out to class to rush home to get them. So my first vision of this business, like where I saw it taking me, was literally like, gosh, I would love to just go in at 8:30 and not 7:30. Like literally, because I wanted to have breakfast around the table with my kids. I wanted to stop being the mom that was like, come on, mommy's got to go. Let's go. Jacket on, like shoes on. I was packing up their breakfast. I was whipping into daycare. I was like tossing it on the table. If they wanted an extra hug goodbye, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be like punching in late. Would like rip into the parking lot at work and be like, whew. And then at night, it was like, okay, get home, unpack bags, dinner, get to bed, shove them to bed as fast as I could. So my first vision of this business was like, maybe it would give me the opportunity to rush less. And that was it. My vision of my life was like, let me go in at 8:30 instead of 7:30. I had no intention of leaving my full-time job because, you know, that was my career. Like I got my degree. I was working in my job. I was doing what I had the benefits, right? I was doing what I was supposed to do. I just wanted to sit around the table with my kids. So that even though I was so stinking busy and I wanted to rush less, adding this to my plate was a way to make that happen. So even though I didn't treat it like an additional responsibility, I treated it as my ticket out, right? I treated it as that. And so then when I finally was able to like make enough and I could cut back work an hour and go in at 8:30 and I was having breakfast with my kids, I sat around the table and I was like, I feel like I won the lottery. I have never sat at a table for breakfast. Like ever. I was like packing theirs, packing mine on the go. So it was like such a life change for me to have that less rush in the morning, that less anxious feeling. Like that stuff kept me up at night. So that was like my first vision. And then so I hit diamond in like, it took me 9 months, which I thought was pretty good back then, right? Now people are hitting it in like a week and it's like awesome, but just want you to know, no success needs to happen that fast. And so 9 months in, it was back when I earned my success starter and I had my ticket to Summit. And then 2 days before Summit, my sister got diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, like very aggressive, very much like she just had not been feeling well. Her stomach had been hurting and she went to the doctor and I get a call that she's like literally admitted into the hospital, like in a hospital bed, like come here now. And I remember getting the call at work and I'm going to try not to cry, but I was at work and I was beside myself. I could not even bring myself practically to drive myself to the hospital. My coworkers wanted to drive me because she's my only sibling. She's like my best friend, the person I envisioned growing old with. I worked in a nursing home and I saw couples like sharing rooms and I'm like, I love my husband, but like I'll be sharing a room with my sister as we get older, right? So when I say this business was like put into my life a year before I knew I needed it, it was because that vision of having breakfast around the table with my kids then started evolving into something greater because she had a long course of treatment and I wanted nothing but to be there with her. I wanted to like stop my life. I wanted to stop my job. I wanted to stop parenting my kids. I wanted literally just to be the one, like I had healthcare knowledge. I wanted to be with her at every appointment, through every chemo treatment. But instead I was having to like ask for time off from my boss. And my department was great, but I didn't want to have to ask for that, right? I wanted to be able to spend my days with her and just like sneak in my job on the other side. And that was my first inkling of, wow, maybe I could take this to some place where that would allow me to do that because you don't know what's going to happen in life. The community is what saved me. I was ready to piece out of this business, to be quite honest, thinking like, how could I take on anything else? Now I'm not only caretaking for my family and my job and my kids, but now I'm helping her. She had twin boys. I'm helping take care of her and her family. And I was like 1 foot out, like almost all 9 toes out, I would say. But instead, I just leaned in and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to continue pushing to the rate that I was, like where business was like my goal, right? I'm going to go to diamond to 2-star or whatever. But instead of piecing out, I just said to myself, just be present and don't stop, because A, the community is saving you. My workouts were my stress relief. But B, I started to have this vision of like what could be on the other side, right? And so when she had 6 months of treatment, chemo in the hospital, she survived. Life was good. I'm like, okay, time to do the business thing again, right? And in the meantime, she's home. We live 4 houses down. She was, taking strolls around the street. She worked from home, luckily. And I remember thinking, God, wouldn't it be cool if there was like PT jobs you could work from home, physical therapy jobs? I'm like, I got to find one of those. Instead, I'm like, dude, you have this opportunity where you can pour your love for health and fitness into something you could do from home, right? So I was like, not only did I want to spend time with her when she was sick, like I wanted to spend time with her now that she was well. I'm like, so even though I loved my job, my priorities kind of shifted. It was like, I don't want to punch a clock 7:30 to 4 every day and then just live for vacation days or the weekends and then ask for time off. I don't want to be the rushed mom. That still was in the pit of my belly. But I'm like, now I kind of want to create my own hours, my own life, because what would be my ideal day would be having lunch with her or taking walks and then doing my work in between and then coming home. My kids could come home to like a not stressed mom. So those are the pictures I had in my head as I went, which is why I asked you to kind of picture that person. Like, how do you want your relationship with your kids to be? Like, you don't have to have some tragic event. Just like, what kind of mom do you want to show up for? What kind of spouse do you want to show up to be? Do you want to be one that crashes into bed every night exhausted and then does not want to get up into bed to do it in the morning again? And maybe that's where you are because you're balancing a full-time job and this, but it doesn't have to be that way forever. And then, my sister got well, about to go to Summit again, year 2, a couple days, maybe a month before, re-diagnosed, went back in and she had it again. And this time it meant going to specialists out in Boston. We live in New York, going to Dana-Farber. I went to school in Boston, so I was like, very familiar. I was like the one wanting to drive with her and be places and everything. So again, back to the cycle, same exact place that I was. And I was kind of kicking myself for not already having been in a position where I could have just done what I wanted. And I was like, you know what, this is for real now. I'm serious about making this happen for my life, right? I'm serious about using this business to create the life that I want. Of course, I love the business. You have to love what you're doing because there's a million ways to make money. Right now, you're choosing Beachbody for a reason because it fills your cup to help people, right? It fills your cup to take care of yourself. And if you're juggling it around a busy schedule, which I know every single one of you are, no one is sitting here in a Beachbody bubble just doing this work, right? There's a reason why you're taking time out of your schedule to do this. And that reason has to be for the life that you want to create. And you also have to be able to have like a long-term vision for that because it doesn't happen overnight. And I want to use this analogy the girls heard on the call of, I heard this on a podcast about a microwave popping popcorn, right? So you put a bag of popcorn in your microwave and you hit 4 minutes and you hit start. And what happens in like minute 1? Nothing. You don't hear a damn thing, right? What happens in minute 2? Nothing again. And at that point, the microwave doesn't say to itself, like, I guess I'm just not cut out for popping popcorn. Like, I will never be able to pop this bag. I am a failure. This popping corn business is not for me. No, it knows that it has to put in that time and that energy initially so that in minute 3, you start to see the little bursts, you start to get the little bit of results, right? And then the 4th minute, it's like pop, 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 and it's very successful. And then it finishes, right? And it popped the popcorn. So I kind of equate that to your business. Like that was like the 4 years of my business, right? I mean, I did have some success in the beginning, but maybe nothing's like really happening, but you know that it will be. You trust, you have that belief that it will be. You know that if you put in the effort over time, doing the right things, it will get there. If you have a short-term mindset in this business, you will have a short-term business. You will be out before you even started. That was kind of me. Like I had to take my foot off the gas. So I knew that so say she got diagnosed in June. I knew that like July and August, maybe I wouldn't even be hitting Success Club. Although luckily again, I did, but like maybe those things wouldn't happen. My next rank advancement didn't happen for about 2 years after, right? And that's when I built my own damn husband. So I sat at Diamond for a really long time because my family just needed me. So maybe you have a full-time job that just really requires your time and whatever. It's okay. Stay present, but know why you're present. Know the kind of life that you're trying to create with this. So now now that you know a little bit about my story, I kind of want to get into the nitty gritty about time management, right? So how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you stay present with your business? And how do you keep working around a full-time job? So I'm really big on mindset because I think your mindset will make or break you in this. So number one is that you have to treat it like a business. And we've heard this over and over and over and again, but I still see people, coaches on my team who will say, God, I was just full-time. My work was so crazy. I just didn't have time today. Even in my like new coach training, I'm like, well, how do you expect to have a business if you can't check into like exercise number one, which is like write your why or something like that, right? So you have to treat it like a business. If you treat it as optional or something you'll do when you have extra time, your results will be optional, meaning your income will be optional, meaning the life you want to create with this opportunity will be optional. And I don't know about you, but that was not something I was willing to leave optional, right? I knew that my full-time job never would give me the ability to just have the freedom of time that I wanted. I knew it would never give me the ability to stop rushing around before and after work and being the mom that was rushed and tired all the time. So think about it. Like if you have a full-time job and you have to punch in at 8:30 in the morning, you have laundry to do and you still go punch in, right? You've got like a house to clean and sometimes you leave it and you still go punch in. You've got people that need you and sometimes you still leave it and go punch in because you know that without going to work, you won't get the paycheck. So you have to show up for this business just the same. It can't be the last thing on your to-do list. Sometimes, even when I was working around my full-time job, and even now, my house is a mess, my laundry baskets are overfull, but I'm prioritizing this. So you have to treat it like a priority if you want the results from your business to happen, which my guess is that you do. My next suggestion for you is that you schedule work hours and have time blocked out for your work. And I say hours, meaning even if it's 10 or 15 minutes, because that's how I had to do it to start. In the beginning, my waking hours, like I was getting up at 5 to get my workout in so I could get out, myself ready, get the kids and myself out the door by 7, get work by 7:30, and then night it was home, and then I was like toast. So in my waking hours, there pretty much was no time. So I had to start getting up at 4:30. I had to make that half hour in the morning my business hours. Why? Because if a store had no business hours and was never open, it would not do business. So regardless of when that is, even if it's 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes over lunch, and maybe 10 minutes at night, or if it's 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, whatever it is, you have to schedule that time in, because if you don't schedule it, you won't do it. It's like PD, right? If we don't schedule it, if we don't make it part of our day, it will go by the wayside. So the first thing is decide where you're going to put it in your day. And you have to be quite honest with yourself. We don't want to like get up earlier or stay up later, but if that's your only time, that's your only time. I'm not saying it's got to be 5 hours, you have to lack sleep, but maybe it's 20 minutes that you can really effectively put 20 minutes towards your business. Or maybe it is over a lunch break that instead of sitting with coworkers, you set aside 20 minutes to go make meaningful connections and send some invites or that sort of thing. So not only is it really important to know when you're going to be working, it's super important to know what you are doing in these times. Because at first I was like, okay, this is my time block. And then guess what I did? The easy stuff. I would go check in with my challenge groups. I would like love on all the posts and the selfies and comment. And I'm like, I got to be a challenger. And then I would have no time for the actual activities that were going to build my business. So sometimes it's really easy to kind of like do the fluff during your work time because it's easy. And then we're like, well, I worked, but I didn't invite, I didn't expand my network. I didn't do the things that are actually going to push my business forward. So you have to not only decide when you're going to work, you have to decide what tasks you're going to do during those times. And that means that you have to prioritize. Now we are super lucky with Beachbody. You have that list. That is our Success Club system tracker. Not a lot of companies would say, if you have a half an hour, here are the things you're going to do. And if you only have a half an hour, cut those time blocks on there down in half. Do all the things in the half an hour. Doesn't mean you have to spend 20 minutes doing something that the bat says if you only have 10. But make sure you know what you're doing and make sure the tasks at the top of the list are the ones that are going to move the needle forward in your business. So expanding your network, making new connections, inviting, right? Those sort of things are going to move the needle forward. Not checking in with your challenge group. Of course, we want to be a good challenger. That's something you could mindlessly set 10 minutes at the end of the day for, right? And do. So you have to make a list of the must-do tasks, the should do, but won't be as productive for moving my business forward. And then that would be nice to do, but if I don't do it today, it's not going to make or break my business, right? And so during your scheduled work time, do only those must do's, right? Like those high value activities. That's what I like to call them, or some people call them income producing activities. So during your work time, make sure you're blocking out the time for those things first. And then you have to recognize what are the tasks that are a little bit less important that can be left for if I can squeeze it in, right? Or something like that. And I think it's really important too, especially if you're working a full-time job or, if you're juggling your kids at home, that you really focus on this so that you're focused. Because I was super guilty of trying to do it while I was at work. I was like taking bathroom breaks so I could message. I'm like messaging in the bathroom, like around my kids. But guess what was happening? I was losing people left and right because I wasn't like tracking them, wasn't tracking my conversations, setting a follow-up date. And then I just didn't feel present anywhere that I was. When I was at work, I wasn't present because I was wanting to be messaging. When I was like doing this, I was like, oh, I got a patient waiting. I got to get out there. When I was with my kids, I was doing this. So I promise you that if you set work times and set the things you're going to do in that time, that's actually going to allow you to not feel connected all the time. And that was a real issue for me. And when you're busy and you're working and you're juggling, like that's an issue. And I just was having a conversation today with a potential new coach, and she's like, she's in our sneak peek, and she's like, I hear all the awesome stuff, but tell me what the struggles are. Like, do you feel attached to your phone all the time? And I'm gonna be like, listen, there was a time I was guilty of that. And then I go wax and wane with this. Like, we're in quals. Like, there's days that I'm like, dude, it's Wednesday. Don't talk to me. Like last night, it was like 9:30. I'm like, oh, the last order is finally in. But I recognize when I'm losing my harmony, when I'm shifting that direction, that it really actually is my fault. I'm not setting the work hours. I'm not setting the off time. I'm not doing the things I need to do and letting the rest go. No one says you, and I have notification agita. If you're like me, raise your hand. If you like see the red stuff, you're like, I gotta clear it. I just cannot go to bed. I got it. Great. That's the kind of person I am. But I had to decide, like, I could be up all night messaging people, right? Because I'm a morning person. There's some night owls on this world. I have not seen 11 or 12 o'clock, and since I don't even know when, unless I'm up to like pee for the first time. I like to go to bed at 9, which means I got to shut it down at like 8:30, like, and be with my kids and not have the blue screen. So when you're feeling connected all the time, or you're feeling like you're just never present, like that's on you. So that's not the business telling you have to work 24/7. That's you. So the best way around that is to actually just schedule the time, because if you have it scheduled, that also is what helped me to let go of those nighttime like messages, because I'm like, guess what? I have a time allotted. I have a half an hour tomorrow morning where I know I'm going to do my work. So it frees you guys. And then you can keep your joy in the business too, because that is the most important thing. If you can juggle a million things. If you start losing your joy, people are going to feel that. You're going to feel it. You're going to go into burnout. If you've never read the book, Eat That Frog, you have to read that. It's by Brian Tracy. You can read it in like 2 days. It's like $10 on Amazon. It is the best book for time management. And it really helped me realize this, because I was that mom that felt defeated at the end of the night. I would like crash on my pillow and I'm like, I ran all day long, but I feel like I didn't do anything, or I didn't get done everything. And I remember him saying that, like, just, you'll never get done everything on your to-do list. So stop it. Stop. I'm like, okay, I'm stopping. So I just knew that I had to prioritize. So you have to decide what those high priority activities are, the B priority and the C priority. Only you can decide that, because you have your family life, you have your work life. You also know what those things are that you avoid the most. Like if it's inviting, you got to do that first, right? Like, so you have to set that list for yourself. Tip number 3 is actually another mindset trick. Stop using busy as an obstacle, because you have to look at it as your superpower. I seek women out for my team that are busy, because busy women get things done. Busy women are productive. I know when I'm less busy, if I don't have a jam-packed schedule, I'm not productive at all. I used to wait tables and bartend through college. And I remember if it was really busy, I was like on the ball. I had everyone's orders right. I was like doing the best customer service. But if it was slow, I was like messing things up because my head just wasn't in the game. So use busy as your superpower. And I like to equate it to, like, time is a resource. It is the most important resource that you have, right? Because we all have a limited amount of it. So think about when resources are limited, like when finances are limited, right? If you're on a tight budget, you're not going to go uselessly spend, like when you're in checkout at Marshall's and like that damn line gets you with like everything on there. If money's tight, like you're not just going to grab everything and like throw it in your cart, right? You're going to be really prioritizing what you spend your money on, because money is a commodity, right? And it's a resource. And when that resource is limited, you're really selective with what you're using. It's the same with your time, you guys. When that resource is limited, you have to be super selective with what you're spending that time on. And so for me, that meant ditching TV at night. And I wasn't a huge TV person, but when my kids would go to bed, it was my like unwind time. So that meant ditching that, right? It meant ditching the aimlessly news feeds with my coffee and checking my email or whatever. It meant, no, like I'm getting to work when I get up. So whatever it is, like you have to be honest with yourself and say, like, what are my time wasters, right? Like, what are the things that are not useful for me because time is my commodity and I need to be really selective with how I prioritize it. The other thing is that, like, what is the number one objection you're going to get from people when you're asking them to start a home workout program or to start a business with you? I'm too busy. Well, you better not use that as your excuse then, because then it's like feeding into their excuse, right? Instead, I say, that's awesome to hear. I seek out busy women for my team for this exact reason. And you can explain to them why. And then you can explain to them how you do it amongst the busy, right? Because I know if someone tells me they're too busy to fit in a 20-minute workout at home, I'm the first one eye rolling. So if I was to sit there and say, I can't put in 20 minutes for my business, like, forget it. You have no business to build. You have no way to get over that objection. And that's the number one objection we get from everybody when it comes to health and fitness and when it comes to business, right? So, and then my third thing is if you are working this around a full-time job or you have other things, again, it's a mindset thing to stop cursing the fact that you have that, right? Because I did that for a long time. I was driving into work like, darn this job. If all I want to do is work on my business. I was like cursing the fact that I had to go spend 8 hours there. So what did that do? It made me miserable for 8 hours of my day. It did not make me the best employee, right? But B, it didn't, like, I had to look at it. It was like, this is what's providing me the income right now to build this business. This is what's providing me the benefits for my family to build this business. So I had to switch. Same damn job I was driving to. It was my mindset that I had to switch and say, I am so thankful for this job because it's allowing me to build this opportunity. Because again, long-term mindset, you're not going to build a business like this overnight. We know this business is built on the speed of trust. You are not going to gain trust from your followers overnight. You are not going to gain clients and coaches on your team overnight, right? So flip that switch in your mind. And then the more things, just in general, gratitude, the more things we're grateful for, the more things we have that come into our world to be grateful for. So the things that you think, like the busy and the other job that you might be cursing right now, flip the switch and be thankful for those things. It helps you relate to other people. It's going to help you show other people the way and how to build this alongside their job. And it's also about having kind of that abundance mindset versus the scarcity mindset, right? It just means, like, some people use that word, I'm so overwhelmed. Like, replace overwhelm anytime you say with opportunity. Like, I'm just so thankful I have all of this opportunity. I have, like, with the trainings that we have, with the things you have, oh my God, all of this opportunity, right? It doesn't mean you have to take advantage of every opportunity to hop on a training or on this or absorb that, but like, I have this opportunity to have a job that's allowing me to build this. I have this opportunity to spend 10 minutes of my day on here. So ditch the overwhelm and really replace that with more of opportunity. And we talked about this a little bit about like scheduling where your available times are. And I touched on this a little bit. You have to identify what your time wasters are. And unless it's like, I don't know, I'm a 2B girl. I don't know if you guys are, where you got to track everything or you don't know what's going in your mouth, right? It's the same thing with your time. If you're not aware of your time right now, you got to track it. Spend like 48 hours, 72 hours, literally writing down what you do every minute of the day. And that sounds ridiculous, but I bet you're going to uncover some times. Like for me, if I had like a few minutes allotted to checking my email, all of a sudden I'm clicking links to like, you know, Gap Factory or like something on Amazon, and I'm like spending 20 minutes online shopping because there's a sale. And I'm like, shit, I can't spend this money anyway. Now I just wasted 20 minutes and I could have been messaging people. So like, audit your time. What are you spending time on? Are you, you know, online shopping? Are you scrolling a newsfeed? Are you watching a Netflix show to unwind or whatever? So when your time is limited, again, you have to realize where those pockets of time are and eliminate the wasteful activities. Maybe you're just like, I know me, I'm also can be a little bit of a home organizer. Like, well, that drawer needs to be straightened out or that needs to be cleaned. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to get to work. And it's like, okay, that could have left. It did not move my business forward. So identify your time wasters. And you have to make those compromises and those trade-offs, because there's also things that we think are so crucial to our day. Like I thought that like nighttime show was just like so crucial for me unwinding, but it wasn't. I had a business to build and it was way more important that I built that. You know, that half hour sleep in the morning. Sure, awesome, but I had a business to build and it was like the only time that I could build it. I'm just looking at the comments here. Yeah, and Angie, so more time than you had. That's the other thing. And so when I'll talk a little bit more about my story towards the end. When I started working from home, my corporate mentor said that to me. She's like, I just want you to be careful, because a lot of times people go from so busy, like we said, you're productive, and then you go home and you have all this time, and all of a sudden you have like found a million other things to do, and then you haven't gotten things done. So I had this picture in my head that when I started working from home, that I was going to like sleep in, and after the kids got in the bus, I would do my workout and get to work. But the time goes during the day, so I still get up at 4:30 in the morning, because that was like my sacred time. And it's also when my mind is the most clear. Like, you have to recognize what time of the day, you're the most fresh, right? And for me, that is early morning. I am useless by like 3 or 4 p.m. Useless. And then I just want to crash at night, aside from being on a team call or whatever. I have some people on my team that like, they're like, I feel like I need to be a morning person. They can't think straight. And they do really well doing like a 9 p.m. power hour. And I'm like, God bless you, because I am in bed. But that works for them. So you also have to see where your time is, and then also determine what times like you're the best, right? You think the best or whatever, and then work your schedule around that. So that being said, having, if morning is your time, and if especially if it's before you go to work or whatever, having a successful morning routine really starts at night. And I'm super passionate about this because, again, I used to work way late into the night, and then I wasn't sleeping, and then my next day sucked and everything got backed up. So practicing really good sleep hygiene, which is having a time to shut it off. And I don't care if you're a night owl or a morning person, you cannot be on your phone up until the minute you go to bed. You have to find a time to shut it off and really create good hygiene around your sleep. Gratitude, like we talked about, that is super important. So end your day with gratitude. And this is something I started with my sister when she got sick. I said, no matter how sucky the day is, take a journal and write down 3 daily positives, like 3 things that were just positive about that day, because we can have stressful days. And if we don't recognize the good, if we focus on the bad, what we focus on expands. It can be something so silly, like I had a delicious peanut butter on my banana this morning. I'm a peanut butter addict. It can be something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be some huge thing. It could be the fact that you literally locked yourself in the bathroom and took 5 deep breaths, and that was like your alone time for the day, or you took a walk or something like that, or you had a really awesome message from somebody. So no matter how crazy or demanding your full-time job was, your kids are driving you crazy, like end that day off of your phone, journaling your gratitude. I'm a big fan of guided meditation. I actually have been for about 4 years since my sister got sick, because I became an insomniac. Like I could not fall asleep because we were buying and selling our home, or selling and then buying another home at the same time, to move on the street with her, ironically, which was supposed to be our fun girls' life, until it turned out to, like, luckily that I'm right here so I can care for you. But I started listening to Insight Timer, a guided meditation. It's the only way I could turn my brain off. And I still do 5 years later every night. And I was the most excited human being when we came out with an Unstress Studio and the meditation relaxation tile. So even if you're not into that, like, start using that. And I'm going to tell you right now, get on day 16 of Unstress. That is my favorite. It will change your life. You'll put it on whenever you need it. Do that today if you haven't done it. But use those sort of things at night. I also was so excited when they came out with like the nightly stretches. Although with 9-week control freak, I was like, no, I have my own routine. Like, sorry, Autumn. But if you don't have that, like, utilize that stuff and show people how you're using that stuff. People need to see the behind the scenes, right? Have eliminate whatever resistance you can in your morning. So have your workout clothes laid out already. I already have my shaker cup filled with water in the fridge. So I just come down and scoop the Energize in. Like, I'm not having, literally, it seems so silly, I'm not having to pour the water. If you're working outside the home, pack your lunch and your kids' lunches like when you're making dinner, because the kitchen's dirty already. You throw everything in the dishwasher. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that, like, even coaches on my team or women that I coach, they're like, well, after I get everyone to bed, then I've got to come down and make lunches for the next day. So I can't. I'm like, what are you doing? Right? Like, do that stuff when you got the plates out and everything already. So nighttime routine, you guys, is so crucial to having a good morning routine. Write down all your to-dos for the next day before you go to bed, so that you're not the person laying in bed trying to save the world and like plan your to-dos, because that happens to all of us too. We wake up and we're like, I got to do this, and it ruins your sleep. So brain dump everything you're going to do, schedule out your full-time job, your family commitments, and when you're going to do your work hours and what you're going to do in them, so it's off your brain. What we think about in our mind when we go to sleep. So brain dump, and then journal gratitude, meditate, get away from the phone, because what we think about is what's going to expand as we sleep. So that's really, really important. So now that you kind of have the vision of where this business might be taking you in the near future, and you know that that vision can change as you grow and as life changes, you have to make your vision, it's a cliche statement, but the reason cliches work is because they hit home. You have to make your vision so clear that your fears become irrelevant, right? So why are you showing up for this? Close your eyes again and revisit that person that you saw when you first started this call. For me, it was that like visceral agony of the morning rush. Like, my blood pressure was high. I was like sick to my stomach. I hated being the mom. Like, I would swear to myself the next day I wasn't going to rush my kids, and then I would rush them. I'm like, oh, I did it again. And that kept me up at night, right? And so when I was thinking about, is it worth it to get up a half an hour earlier, or is it worth it to ditch the show at night so I can make this happen? Yeah, that was way more worth it than being the kind of mom I didn't like to be anymore. And when my sister got sick, and I decided that I would rather be there for her when she's sick, and then again when she's healthy, and I'd rather be using my daytime hours to do what I love and then spend time with the people that I love while I had them on this earth, because I never had a life so close to me threatened, right? Was that more important? Was that more important than saying I don't have time, or more important than a fear of putting myself out? Yeah, you bet that was more important. So again, it's that vision of your life, that vision of who you are, that vision of who this business is going to allow you to be. That is what's going to keep you going amongst the busy. And honestly, the reason I left last May, it really wasn't even out of, okay, now I'm at the point where I can leave, because, even though I had built up this income and we still have a second one. But at that time, my husband got laid off of work because he was in the restaurant business and the world closed down. So no restaurants. My dad actually got diagnosed with cancer, and we had been socially distancing from my parents because I worked in a nursing home with COVID residents. And, I had little kids that were in, and we didn't want to infect them. And so this business allowed me to be like, you know what? I'm stepping out. I have the opportunity to step out. And if I had it, that again, that wouldn't have happened overnight. So if I hadn't continued to work amongst the busy and amongst the other responsibilities, I wouldn't have had that opportunity to then do that. And then guess what I started doing when I started working from home? I started taking walks with my sister during the day, right? I was able to see my dad and help them with their appointments. I was actually able to have lunch with my husband, which we'd always been on opposite schedules. He worked nights, I worked days. We would see each other in passing. We had meaningful time together. I was here for my kids. I not gonna lie, I probably would be fired anyway, because now that they're back in school, they're on quarantine every other week for 10 days because exposure. And I'm like, I would be fired anyway. So again, thank goodness I stayed present in this business and just leaned in and kept building it. So I'm not here saying you have to have some tragic life event, right, to make you want to show up for your job. I'm just saying you have to have a vision of the life that you want to create, whether it's time freedom, financial freedom, just being the kind of mom, wife, spouse, sister, daughter, whatever it is that you want to be. I had to take a hard look, because I liked my job as a PT. I did not like it, but I was like, that job will never allow me to create the life that I want, to be the person that I want. I was showing up every day to build somebody else's dream. Owners of the facility I worked in, amazing. That was their dream. Care for the elderly, loved it. But that wasn't my dream anymore, right? And I also had other things happen in life that made something else a little bit more important than then punching that clock and getting that paycheck and those benefits. So even if you don't want to leave your full-time job or whatever, you just have to have a vision of where you want to go in this business so that it makes you show up when it's inconvenient, because inconvenience shows commitment. I'm going to bet you that nobody here signed up for this business on a really crappy day when they felt like they couldn't handle one more thing in their life. Did anybody? No. You probably all signed up on a good day, right? Life was good. I got this. I'm going to take this on. But you can't only show up on those days, right? Things get inconvenient. Things get really inconvenient. And that's when it's actually showing your commitment to this business. And not only your commitment to this business, your commitment to that vision that you just spent time building, and that you just realized that you had, and realize it's the commitment to that kind of life that you want. So showing up amongst the hard, showing up amongst the busy, it also is going to build trust in your team. It's going to allow them to see that you're doing it too. You're in the trenches. And I'll tell you, with the whole pandemic and everything, my team went through a lot of hard times, but they didn't back out. Why? Because they had seen me for the past 2 years doing exactly this through hell and showing up. So it built trust with my team. It built trust with my followers, that I wasn't ditching on my workout because I was, insomniac, because I was thinking about everyone else or trying to take care of everyone else and still juggling work and a business. No, they saw me showing up amongst the hard, and I shared how this was my therapy. My exercise was my therapy. And when the world was out of my control, I knew I could control how I moved my body and what the foods I put in my mouth. So I shared that. So it's going to build trust in your team. It's going to build trust in your followers. It's going to help you relate to the people that you are wanting to bring into your business to build this business for you. And I heard another saying that, actually Autumn said this, and I'm in control freak. That was completely brilliant. She said, unsuccessful people, they take steps halfway to their goal and they turn around and they step all the way back to the start. Where successful people take steps, but they just keep going. And then they get to that place where they want to be. It's like they both take the same amount of steps. It's just that one reaches their goal and the other does not. So don't be that person spending your energy stepping in and out and back and forth. If you just continue the little steps forward every day, those things are going to add up over time. Okay. So when you're sick and you're tired and you're not feeling well, you still show up for your kids, right? Because you have to care for them. You have to nurture them. You have to nurture that vision for this business. You have to show up for it when you're not feeling like it, when you're tired, when the rest of the world needs you to. So, you use that why, use that vision and revisit it. If you need to, close your eyes and revisit it every day. I actually would argue that you do that before you start your work time every day, because you're not showing up for the love of sending invites. Nobody is. I'm not, you're not showing up for the love of expanding your network by 3 to 5 people every day. Nobody is, right? And you are showing up for the love of the paycheck, but like I said, you can earn a paycheck in a million different ways. So there's a reason why you're showing up for this. So close your eyes and revisit that person, that future you, that Beachbody is going to help you get to. Revisit that person daily. And if you can't do it every day, at least once a week, when you're looking back at your week, like revisit that person, that vision, that why, because your why absolutely deserves you to show up amongst everything else. That's it.
Oh, fire. I love, 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 love. I can't wait to get off. And I think we're all just going to go start inviting and adding to our network. I'd love to open it up for questions if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. One that I just, am dying to ask is, all right, 6-star to 9-star. Like, what does that look like? How'd you get it? How'd you get there? What are your 9 gals doing? And I know it's even more than that a lot of times.
Yeah.
Is it a push pod? Is it incentive? What do you guys,
Mhm.
what is it?
So a couple of things. So every time I've made a jump, because we made a jump from 1 to like 3 to 4 and then to 6, which we actually were in 7 qual at the end of the year. We just dropped 1 and then now to 9. I'm going to tell you, they're all like lifers, because I'm not like a recruit right into coaching. That's just never been my thing. It's people that I nurture in my challenge groups because I pour my love like into that, and then they see it and they become coaches. So when I first went from diamond to 1-star, that was my own aha moment of, again, like, why am I not building my husband? Right. I'm like, I was like waiting for people to come to find me to put to him. I was like, no. Whenever I had a challenger that I converted to like just a discount coach, I started building under him. Mindset thing. I got this. When I built, some people think like, oh, if it's not real 1-star, if I'm building, yes, it is. Like, then you build 2 diamonds. That just even gives you more of a leg to stand on to teach people how to build themselves to diamond. And then that year I was like, okay, I want to go, my personal goal, like I wanted to be a 5-star elite team. I didn't know what elite meant. I didn't even know what our program was. I just knew it sounded like really exclusive. And I was like, I'm not here to be average. I'm going to be elite. No idea what it meant. And I still am not someone that like tracks elite. Like, this is the first year I'm kind of like tracking elite numbers because I hit it last year and I'm like, I was kind of down the wire. I'm like, I don't want to be down the wire. So at least I know what the elite report is, right? And where I stand. But that year I took 4 people on my team that I thought could go. And I'm going to tell you this, because I'm in a lot of leader threads and I hear a lot of pods of people that are like, what do you do with people that are just saying they want it and they don't want it? They're not showing up. Well, my first thing is you have to delineate, like, are they not showing up because they're the talkers that don't have the action? Are they not showing up because there's a limiting belief there? And how I know this is, like, I took 3 people that were in my downline that were products of the product through and through. They showed up in my challenge group. They showed up in their challenge group. They were sharing their story on their social media. So I knew like they had what a coach, they were showing up on team calls, but yet they weren't inviting, right? Or they weren't whatever. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? Let's talk. I got 1-to-1 with them. Like, what is limiting you? Because I see this in you. What don't you see? And for one of them, it was, I'm not at why would I'm like, not at my goal weight. She's a little heavier, right? I'm like, okay. But people, like, when she puts up a transformation post of herself, it's like, people are like, there's a million miles long. So I kind of talked her through that limiting belief. For somebody else, it was, again, like, I don't know how, whatever. So with the people that I saw that I knew were showing up for themselves and showing up for the team trainings and showing up for all that, it was kind of like, I dove deep into them. I bred the belief into them and the vision. Like, I see this in you. Can you tell me, like, do you want this? Like, do you want to make something of this business? And if they said yes, then I asked what was holding them back. So I found like 3 or 4 of them and I just put them in a little pod. And I remember saying to them, you guys, like, because my weakness was like, my upline had stepped out like about a year into my business shortly after I hit diamond. And that was like, I was like, oh my God, I got to run all these calls. Like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but it turned out to be the biggest blessing because it allowed me to just create that culture and to be the leader that I never would have stepped in to be. So I started reading PD on leadership. I started this pod and I was like, I'm just going to give them like a couple tasks a day. And it wasn't anything fancy. It was like, this is what we need to do to build a team. Like, how often are you talking about coaching? Okay, let's start by crafting 2 posts to your social media per week about the coaching opportunity, what's done to you. Share it in this pod. We did a group PD. We did like the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. So people are showing up, right? We read the same book. We did that. If I found a podcast that I loved, I like threw them a PD, or like, just little small daily actions, like have talk about your coaching and your stories today in 2 clips. And that way tomorrow, those are the people you can then reach out to and connect to. Say, hey, I saw you watching my story. Like, have you ever considered? So it was really just putting people in pods and then giving them the little tasks. And I remember having a notebook that I was like, I better start writing this down, because if this works, like, I'm going to want to do it again. I'm like, I'm going to want to recreate it. That's where I stood. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing building people to leaders. I'm just going to do it. And so that's what I did. And then, so we ended that year 3-star in Premier, and my 4th diamond hit like in January. So we ended up last January, like 4-star. And then I was like, okay, this is my year of like 5-star elite, at least 5-star elite. So again, it was just like, who else can I bring into the mix? Who are our next new people that come up? I have a lot of success with pods because it allows, like Carl Deichler once said, and I loved it, that people quit on product, they don't quit on relationships. So when I could pair some people up, because when you're like a stranded coach, like you're trying to build and you think like you're missing something, and then you connect with other people that are feeling the same way, and you're like, oh, not the only one. It's like a sense of relief. So when I paired some people up like that were on it, really consistent on their journey, really consistent with showing up for trainings, but just limiting, like self-limiting beliefs. And when I paired them up and then we just took action every day, like small incremental action, and I'm not like, go invite 60 people to coaching. Like, I don't believe in cold inviting. Like, that's not the kind of stuff I was throwing at them. It's sharing your social media, sharing your stories, make connections, then be okay inviting them. So I did that, I just kind of kept doing that. I pieced people together, and we're like a 4th quarter kind of team. Like, all of a sudden it was like, and I just shared that vision. Like, I want to be elite, not because this team, because you want it for your team. I remember like when I signed up, it was a girl I didn't know. I was watching her on social media and I just saw that she was like 5-star elite. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew that meant she was running a legitimate business. Where my coworker that sat next to me, that was a Beachbody coach who was kind of like discount and like toggle with the idea of it, I didn't sign up with her. I signed up with a person that like was like part of an elite team, right? So when you're going for your team, it's not just a you thing. Pour that vision into them, because I shared that part of my story. I said, you guys will be part, if we do this together, if we band together and hit this goal, and you guys, my goal is to help you grow businesses that have changed your life the way this business has changed mine. So it's about them if they want it, like create that life, but know that also it's a team thing, meaning if we get to elite, and you will have such an integral part of this, like this is something that you guys get to say for the team too. Like, you're a part of an elite team. You have an elite team to be asking people to join you with. And so that was huge. So we were in 7-star call at the end of last year for like 4 weeks. And I think we dropped to 6, but we ended the year 6-star in elite, which was amazing. So again, we get to talk about being an elite team, and then now turn of the year, that one person that dropped and like a couple others, now they're popping. So it's all about momentum. And the beauty of it is that people see other people, like, I want to say like the average Joe, like the challenger, right? That just turned coaches. So like, then they see it in them too. Yes, it's a goal of mine to start recruiting people like right to coaching for sure. But I think when you can breathe the belief and then you can take a few and grow. And when I read, oh my God, Built to Last by Keith Callahan, he talked about that. He talked about how there's just, if you were in a room of 5,000 red Solo cups and someone told you there was 5 diamonds underneath, and you flipped a cup and there wasn't, you flipped a cup and there wasn't, but you knew in that room there was 5 diamonds to find, you wouldn't stop flipping the cups because you knew they were there. So you guys, it's pretty much proven in this business, like diamonds are out there to find, to build. Your job is just to keep flipping the cups to find them. And so that was kind of it. I was like, I'm going to see who I believe in, if they're willing to do it, and I'll pour into them if they pour in as well. Don't spend your time on the people not showing up, of course. But so I just kind of breed people in little pods, and then I think it helps other kind of challengers on the fence of coaching, seeing they could do it too. And then the ones that are just kind of casually coaching say, oh my gosh, now this person made it to diamond and we've been in the challenge group together, right? And like, now she can too. So that's kind of how it happened. And yeah, we have the potential for 12 right now. I've got like 3 others that are kind of hanging on. So again, it's just the same thing. And then I just strategically build with launches too, like building accounts with discount coaches with launches and teaching my team how to do that. So with Let's Get Up coming out, be sure to do that as well.
Thank you. That's awesome. Who else has a question for the amazing Christina?
I kind of do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I jumped in late. I was teaching my virtual PIO class.
No problem.
This is kind of a reverse question, but I'm curious if you might have some input on someone who's lost their why. Like, my original why doesn't exist anymore. And I I admit, like I have been floundering and just feeling very lost. Even before this last year started going, I've been dealing with some menopause stuff. Like I'm at a different stage in life, right?
Yeah.
And I keep getting certifications and, you know, teaching, and nothing's like, what am I doing this for? Like my kids don't care. They don't care anymore. They're teenagers or in their 20s. Like they're not. I don't have an amazing spouse. I don't have a spouse. I don't have little kids. I don't know.
Yeah.
So how do you find that again? You know, it's
Yeah.
like because I so I will not give up. I will not quit, but I have definitely, and I've been doing this now for 6 years. 6.5 years I've been a coach. And what you said about, you know, everybody's taking the same steps, but who's going forward and who's going backwards. And I feel like I'm just kind of on this hamster wheel, just staying still.
Yeah.
I did slide back, and then, you know, anyway, so what would your advice be?
Yeah. So
Well,
first, when you go back and listen to the beginning of the call, you'll see I did like a little vision exercise. So my advice for you, and yours is going to look a little different because it might not be around a schedule or whatever, like trying to create, but like, I like to tell people to like, think about your ideal 24-hour day, right? Like what you're doing now, and I'm not sure what fills your day. If obviously it's some virtual teaching of classes and this and that, but like, it might not even necessarily be like, okay, how do I want my schedule to be different? It might be like, how do I want to feel about walking through my day, right? Because for you, maybe it's a feeling of passion about something you're doing, or a feeling of making a difference in someone's life, or a feeling of having this platform that you can then share something that, you know, like a gift that you have to give the world. And sounds like you're lacking that, like a feeling, right? So
yeah,
I sit there, like, so for me, when I help a lot of people with vision, I always say, like, close your eyes and envision your ideal 24-hour day. So like, what time do you wake up? Do you wake up to an alarm because you have to, or do you wake up just like when you want to? And then when you wake up, what do? Are you journaling, meditating, having a cup of coffee, or are you like up and out the door? And then what hours do you work for the day? And then what do you do in those hours? When do you sign on? When do you sign off? Who are you having lunch with? Like, who are the people in your life that you're spending time with? Or are you just having more time like spending with yourself? Because a lot of people don't have that. How do you want to feel about the work that you do? You know, what does your nighttime routine look like? Who do you want to be connecting with? Because for me, like, I had no community. That was a huge thing for me too. And I was kind of an isolated, like, again, working with an elderly population, than a mom who would just come home with her kids. And I'm an introvert and I'm a homebody. And so if I never left my house, like, I would have been totally fine. But I still felt so, so I never thought I needed this, but now I feel like I can be an introverted extrovert who's connected with people, right? So maybe it's a feeling, like, right? Like, if you think about, what if this got taken away from you, what would you be missing? Like, how if the community aspect would be missing, if you
that's a
like,
really good question. That's really good. Yeah. So because I would be devastated. And to answer your question, I've been a hairstylist for 37 years. And oh dear God, I want it to be over, because this last year really I already was thinking about retiring. And then this last year just I'm in California. So continually having the rug pulled out from under us has just been really, you know.
Think about that, like, because a lot of times we don't think that, like, everyone's like, well, my ideal day, I'm not in control of that. Well, you are in control of it. It just might take a little time to create that control. So again, it might not be for you showing up to do the Success Club system tracker, but if it's showing up to something that's going to allow you to not have to depend on that hairstyling income, or put yourself at risk out there, or have that anxiety of, I don't know what's going to happen next. And to me, it's interesting because I think, like, typically before the pandemic, right? Like I had the stable job, right? And I was actually kind of nervous about success with this, because I kept thinking, like, okay, if I ever do leave my job, then I have to sustain it, right? Because it'd be my only job. So I was actually fearful of success. Now, having a job where you have to, like, go out is not stable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's things that you do for work that then are your income's taken away from you. And so knowing that you might just even want, for peace of mind, that comfort of the stability of you controlling your income and you controlling your time, and not having to depend on whether people want to come get their hair done, or they're scared to go outside, or salons are shut down, or anything. So I would think about creating your ideal day. What does it look like? How do you want to feel about the work, the things you're spending your time on? Like, how do you feel when you're teaching a virtual class versus how do you feel when you're at that salon, right? How do you want to end your day? Do you want to be looking forward to the next day? Because that's huge for me. I used to go to bed thinking, like, oh, when that alarm goes off, I have to wake up and do it again. Now I'm like, I get to wake up and do it again because I love my morning routine. And so I would really just close your eyes and sit there and envision your ideal 24-hour day. Not only what are you doing in that day, but like, how do you feel about the things that you're doing? How do you feel about the things that you're spending your time on? Because again, it's not the activities, right? And to me, Beachbody is just a platform, right? Your brand is not Beachbody. Your brand is you and how you're going to impact people's lives.
Right. And I feel like that comparison, the days that I have to go to the salon, I'm not excited about waking up on those days. And the days that I get to teach, like yesterday, I literally was in bed all day with a migraine. I was so sick. And usually I feel like a truck hit me the next day, but I got to teach today. So I got myself up and got on there because it brings me so much joy. I could cry right now. Like, it brings me so much joy to teach classes.
And that is it. Like, so that's what you have to tie to. Like, sometimes it's just about shifting your life from a feeling of dread to a feeling of joy. It doesn't have to be about wanting to like upheaval your whole schedule, right? It could literally be the kind of feeling you want to have as you go through your everyday.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really good answer.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any questions for Christina?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more on the, I guess, the technical side of things, but when you have those limited time blocks and you're trying to pick your priorities on what is most important to move your business, I find myself in social media getting wrapped up in trying to create that genuine connection with people and liking on things and commenting on things. And then I kind of get lost in that and spiral more than anything. And so I know there's the bat and everything, but do you have any, like, what is your key to success for keeping yourself on track to kind of prioritizing that?
Yep. My key is like, you have to time block even your time blocks. So if you, and you have to set like we say, smart goals, like set goals every day. And if your goal is to connect with 3 people a day, you do that. And then you stop and you move on to the next activity, because I used to fall down that rabbit hole. There's endless, we could spend the whole day connecting with people, right? We could spend the whole day inviting people. We could spend the whole day looking for new friends on Instagram. Like, so if you don't limit that time, that's what's going to happen. So if you have it's funny, I actually did a call for my team. Like, if you have a half an hour, do this for 5 minutes, do this. And I can share that with you guys. But like, so if you're going to say, I'm going to set 5 minutes to expand my network, you set 5 minutes. And when that 5 minutes is done, you're done. So you know that's the only time you have. So you're going to expand your network by as many people as you can. That's it. Then if you're going to say, I'm going to set 5 minutes to make genuine comments and connections and messages, you set that 5 minutes. And when it's done, you're done. So that, you know, like, I'm going to get to work. I'm not going to mindlessly scroll. So you're scrolling with a goal, right? You're using intention that like, and if you, by focusing on one task at a time, it allows you to do that. Because I used to be like, I'll just do my power hour, but then I could be connecting, I could be expanding my network, I could be inviting. And then all of a sudden I was doing nothing because I was looking at people in all ways. So like now, even if I want to invite to coaching, I'm on there to just invite to coaching. So I'm not looking for challengers. If I'm in there to invite for challengers, like, I'm just looking for challengers, so that the people that might be good coaches, I'm not even I'm not talking to, because I'm setting a time block for like the actual activity. So know that, of course, like we said, you could spend endless hours doing all of the activities on the bat, but if you have limited time, you have to time block your time block and give yourself 5 minutes to expand your network, 5 minutes to meaningfully engage, 5 minutes to invite, 5 minutes to check in with your challenge group, like, or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. I think I need to get better about maybe just setting a timer or something.
Yeah, set the timer. Or even, I mean, if you're on your phone, the time is always in the corner. Be like, okay, at 2:05, I'm done with expanding my network, right? And also, don't make it a bigger deal than it is. Like, I build a lot on Facebook. I just go to like, you know, go to your friends and it says people you may know. And if we have 20 people in common, boom, 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 boom. I'm not worried if they're requesting back or anything. I just know that then I'll have a way to connect with them because we have a lot of people in common, and then be done with it, right? And if you're going to make meaningful comments and things, like, who am I going to really engage with? It's probably the people watching my stories. So I'm going to go right to my stories, and I give myself 10 minutes, and I'm going to go intentionally either say, thank you so much for watching my stories, I appreciate your support, and initiate a conversation if we haven't had one yet. Or if it's your engagement time, go to their pages, like and love on their stuff if there's someone you think is a potential challenger or client. And again, when you see that time click to 2:10, now you're done with that 5 minutes. So I would really just think about, like I said, kind of time blocking your time blocks, and just really everything we do, we have to limit the amount of time or you will go down that rabbit hole for sure.
Oh, gold. Yeah, we would love if you share that call with us, or your 30 minutes, what to do in 30 minutes. Because I know so many women on this call have 30 minutes a day, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that's why I did it, because I asked my team like what you want to hear, and they're like, tell me what to do if I only have a half hour. I'm like, you got it. Yeah.
Done. Oh, we would love that. And if you guys don't follow Christina on Instagram, jump on, type in her name, Christina McClurken, and you'll see her. She makes coaching seem so simple. Like, you follow her stuff, you know what she's about. It's just tasteful and beautiful. And I just have to commend
Oh,
you on
thank you
that,
so
Christina.
much.
So yeah, she's a great one to follow just for inspiration, of how to not overcomplicate anything.
Yeah, keep
So
it simple. That's my motto.
yeah. Oh, well, thank you for your time today. We're so appreciative, and we hope you have the best rest of your week and
All right,
weekend.
sounds good. Thank you guys for being on.
Thank
Okay,
you. We'll talk to you
bye.
later. Bye. Good luck with your
Thank
qual.
you.